It was Saturday in Canterlot. Princess Rose was out for a walk in town since she has been feeling restless and also has been in her room for the past few days. She had been feeling down lately. The main reason why she has been feeling so down because since her ex-boyfriend broke up with her a couple of days earlier after being Rose felt very happy to have a boyfriend. She really feels happy that one of her male friends actually had introduced him to her through them. At first, they took it very slowly, but eventually they made it official as of being a couple. They went to all kinds of things together. They went to restaurants, had romantic dinners, had picnics together, even went to movies. They had a lot of fun together, and Rose felt very happy to have found some pony to be with, and she could somehow even felt connection, and she even saw a possible future with him. But then it all came down to the bad things happened. After 6 months, one day Rose received a letter from her boyfriend, which he wrote to her and said that he didn't have any feelings for her anymore, and that also he had been offered a promotion in a Manhattan within his job, and which he had already accepted, which means that he had to move. But that was not the reason why. He didn't have any romantic feelings towards her anymore, and reading this letter, it broke her heart. After being dating for 6 months, for half of a year, she spent all her time with him. But now it all came down, burning and crashing. Rose didn't even leave her room for just a couple of days afterwards. Even both Celestia and Luna, her older sisters, were really concerned about that. They were worried about her. But after a couple of days, she decided to leave the room and just go out, get some fresh air, maybe clean her mind of all of this. Try to move on. Even though that at least Celestia and Luna was just happy to see that Rose decided to leave the castle for some time. But they were still worried about her. But Luna has said to Celestia that give her some time, she will move on and heal. And who knows, maybe eventually she will find a new boyfriend to be with. Even though that when Rose went in town, she ran into some of her friends. They were also aware about this breakup and they both felt sorry for her. Even though Rose had stated to some of her friends afterwards that ever since what happened, she preferred not to be involved in a romantic uh, romance with some of their male friends, which they all agreed not to let that happen. Even though that after a while, Celestia and Luna told Rose that they were a little bit worried about her when Luna said, you know, maybe one day you might find someone else to be with. Maybe when you feel ready to get worried, maybe you find some pony to be with. I mean, seeing from this, Rose, we just want you to be happy, to smile more. Are you saying I need a new boyfriend so soon? Said Rose a bit angry. It was almost like a rift happening between them. But Luna shook her head and said that by explaining, she just wished that maybe that one day, when Rose is ready to maybe find some boyfriend to be with, or at least maybe felt when she felt ready to give dating a second chance. Even Rose herself was not really ready for any dating at the moment. After all this breakup after a couple of days earlier, she was still heartbroken. But after a couple of months, Rose had tried to move on, even though it was still a bit hard at first. But she hadn't even give any dating any chance at all, though. But one day during breakfast, when Luna and Celestia were just talking about some random things when the topic speed dating came up. Luna, what is speed dating? Asked Rose. Both Celestia and Luna looked at each other and explained what speed dating were. It's like this is like a service where you go, where you're spend some at least a couple of minutes with different stallions or mares that you are being applied to being talking to, get to know them, and maybe see if there are any connection, like there's any maybe some romantic feelings towards between, maybe a potential of a date. Even though Rose asked Luna how often did a mare or a stallion find a date on speed dating. Even though Luna and Celeste said both at the same time, they were not know exactly the statistic how often a mare or stallion find a long-term partner or boyfriend in speed dating. But since that has been very popular in a matter of cities like Manhattan, Trottingham, and now in Canterlot. So it seems how popular it is, and it seems that many have found a potential boyfriend or girlfriend within this speeding service. And Luna said just maybe is that like maybe that's something you can try. Are you trying to tell me I should try it just to get to find some pony to be with? No, 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 no. I mean, maybe that's an option. I mean, if you wouldn't have found a boyfriend in a normal way, the old traditional way, maybe consider speed dating as an option at least. I have to agree with that, but Luna said Celestia. Knowing that many stallions and mares had found some pony in that within service. And who knows, maybe you could maybe find a boyfriend or two, or maybe a couple of days at least. But like Luna said, having it at least as an option. At least think about it. Rose said that she might think about it, even though that she wasn't really much up for this speed dating service at all. But after about a couple of days of thinking about this, she decided to walk there and to see what it's about. At least maybe to see, try at least once to see about something that she were just something up for. But as she was applying for this, not that she did notice there were a lot of stallions and the mares, and she did ask the organizer, just to be, or at least the host, um, how often a mare or stallion finds some potential boyfriend or at least a relationship in this service. The organizer or the host said that it is quite often that any pony knows. The more happens more often that any pony knows though. So those words actually gave Rose some encouragement to maybe try it at least. So when the service started, she was matched with several stallions, but some of them were not much as any had no common interest with like with her, or some that she didn't felt any connection to. But it was not till near the end when she was matched with a pig-sized stallion by the name Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt was actually a local from Canterlot. He was actually working. He was actually working as a carpenter for a local business in town. And even though that there were maybe no connection between them, but somehow Rose felt some sort of connection to him. That were at least he was really generous, he was really kind, he was telling some good jokes and made her laugh. And even after service was over, she was leaving and felt maybe that this were maybe a good choice or to try at least. But as she was walking away, Thunderbolt actually walked up to her, asked if maybe she wanted to go somewhere, maybe to get something to eat, or just maybe just to socialize, maybe to spend more time. Because he said to her that he kind of liked her, and he asked her if it was possible that just today so they could go somewhere, maybe continue their conversation. And since it was early noon, around 1 p.m., and Rose didn't have any other plans to do, or at least what she had in mind, so she agreed. So they went to a small cafe nearby, where they started talking more about the conversation they had at the speeding service. And eventually, they seem to have a lot of things in common. So, like the type of same food, type of music, and they pretty much had some connection. So after that meeting, Thunderbolt told her where he lives, if she wants to come by and maybe to have some more conversation, maybe for tea or something. Even though that Rose was very much hesitated at first, but she felt a little bit shy though. But she agreed. And after that, when she came back to the castle, Luna and Celestia asked her how the speed dating worked, or how it went for her. She said that she actually was matched with several stallions, but she didn't feel any sort of connection. But there was only one that she maybe have found, not perhaps found a boyfriend, but maybe have found a new friend by the name Thunderbolt. Both Luna and Celestia was actually a little bit surprised though, but they were happy to me that she found a friend to at least spend some time with. And a couple of weeks later, both Rose and Thunderbolt had spent some more time together, either at his place or maybe at the park or at the cafe, just to spend time, have some good conversations. But after about maybe 3 weeks of spending some time, Thunderbolt took the courage to ask her out on a date, even though he may know that she may say no. But she actually said yes, because now it has been a while since she broken up from her ex-boyfriend. So she thought maybe one date wouldn't hurt. And even if there weren't be any romantic feelings toward each other, they would get it has at least giving them a chance to see if there was any connection. And even if they didn't work, they could still remain as good friends, had Thunderbolt explained. So they went to the restaurant a couple of days later to order, and for some reason, Rose didn't felt any nervous, shy at all with him. He was actually still very much generous and very kind to her, maybe tell some more about himself and telling her about this business he's working for, and even afterwards, he actually followed her back to the castle to see that she came back safely. And there, he did ask her just if she enjoyed their date, and she actually said yes. And he then said that maybe that even though that they may not go out again, it's something that he probably would like to do if only she was up for it. But she was actually interrupting him and said she would like to go out with him again, and they all actually agreed to do so. Even Thunderbolt was really surprised that he was actually have a second date with one of the princesses, even though that she was a royalty and he was just uncommon citizen. He didn't even expecting that at first that Rose would be going to this speeding service. He thought maybe that she would have an easier to find someone noble, or maybe another royalty, or maybe there's someone another famous athlete, or maybe a musician or something like that. But she was really happy to have found someone like him. And even when she came back to the castle, Luna was actually eager to know more about this date. She was a little bit eager to get some more details and ask how it went, or she said actually when it went well and that they are going out a second time. Even though that Rose were not much as optimistic, this may not even lead to any serious relationship. But she was willing to give it a chance to see if this could be something at least. And even though when Celestia found out about this the next day, she was also very happy to hear that her sister may found a boyfriend. But even though that she was agreed that may not, perhaps not, even if this may not even lead to any serious, they will still have a friend to spend time with. But eventually, after about maybe 2 months of dating, they actually realized they really had feelings for each other and decided to be as an official couple. And eventually the whole kingdom knew about them. And every pony was actually happy to see the youngest princess of the royal sisters may have found a potential husband one day also. When that was spreading to even Canterlot, Luna, Celestia, and even Rose was like, how would public would even expect me to get married so soon? Even though that was something that maybe sparked an interest for Rose, because she wanted to get married one day and have a family of her own. But eventually, though, when she brought up that topic to the Thunderbolt, he also explained that he also had heard about these rumors or at least this talk about him and Rose getting married one day, and even though he said that he might have actually, he said that he didn't have to admit that he wouldn't have lied that he had daydreamed them about getting married and stuff like that. But he did say that he had some dreams about her and him getting married and have a family of their own. Even though that he really wanted to take it slowly, because they had only been dating for what, a couple of months, and even Rose agreed. But after a while, though, something would eventually happen between them. Because one day when Celestia and and Rose had actually received an invitation to Saudi Arabia for a diplomatic mission or a royalty diplomatic mission. So Luna had to stay behind to take care of some of the royal duties. And even though that Luna had also invited Twilight to help her with some of the duties, which she didn't mind, Rose told Thunderbolt that she would be gone for about a week. Even though that he was not expecting to be that long, but he said that he would wait for her. And she smiled. They gave each other a kiss and before she left. But during that week, Thunderbolt actually spent a lot of time with some of his friends, and even though that some of his friends did ask him if it was really that serious between him and Rose, and he said every single time, yes, it is a very serious between us. I'm actually very deeply in love with her. Even though some of his friends may say, are you really serious, or are you not dating her because she's a royalty? But Thunderbolt said a little bit angry tone to his friends that he loves her. Even if he wasn't a royal or not, he would still love her. And even despite what the rumors saying about them or not, it's not to believe them. Because he doesn't even care of how the rumors saying that Rose is not even really loving him, but only using him as maybe as a some sort of maybe some sort of an act, just showing her to be more spreading more rumors or maybe, but he always shut them down immediately by saying, "You don't know her as that I do. She has for no attention to use me for her personal gain." And after that, his friends immediately apologized when he told them that. Because first, Thunderbolt loves Rose more than anything. And he would still be with her even if he wasn't even a royalty. He would still be with her if he was poor or rich, no matter what. He loves her. And that is true, pure love. That is one kind of love that goes beyond anything is possible. And when she came back though, he had informed her what some of his friends had said. She felt a bit angry, but he said that he had taken care of that problem already. And they apologized for what they said, and she accepted it. But but one day, when Rose was just up by herself walking while Thunderbolt was at work, she was just walking around, but suddenly she heard a voice behind her. And she first believed maybe it was Thunderbolt was having a break from his work. But as they noted that the voice said again, Rose, she realized That wasn't even Thunderbolt's voice. So she turned around and saw it was her ex-boyfriend. She had even seen her ex-boyfriend in a while now. She had even moved on. She had totally forgot about him. But he, she was actually surprised to see that he was in Camelot. So she asked him why he's back in town. It turns out that he was only in town for about a week for some visit some of his family who still lives in Camelot. And he asked her if it was possible for him to get somewhere, maybe grab a bite to eat and just have a conversation. And since they didn't leave in such bad terms so that she didn't even hate him, so she agreed. So they went to the cafe nearby to have something to eat and they just start talking and he explained that his business that he's working for goes quite well and even though he still missed Canton from time to time and that even though he has started feeling regretted that he broke up with her and he was asking her if it was possible for them to get back together again. He was willing to give them a second chance to see if it can actually work. But it turns out that he was aware that she's already had a boyfriend, and she mentioned it. And even though he asked her if this boyfriend was that really that serious, or if it was something maybe that it was only temporarily. But she explained her ex-boyfriend that this wasn't temporarily, and this was quite serious. She loves this new boyfriend, Thunderbolt. And even though that he really loves her also so deeply, her ex-boyfriend tried to convince her maybe that to at least give him a chance. But she said firmly no. She had moved on and was in a sense also when she mentioned it when they brought it up. How in the way he broke up with her on by a letter is one of the baddest, one of the worst things in a way that any pony could do. And ever since he did that, Rose could not even forgive him after that. And she explained to him that she would never go back to him, no matter what he says. After that, she paid for her food and she left. Even though he tried to convince her once after that, he actually ran after her, tried to talk to her some more, but she didn't want to talk to him anymore. And she said just kindly to him, listen, you had probably spent some more time with some of the mayors back in Manhattan, right? Yes, I have. So, my advice to you is that forget about me. Find some pony in somewhere in Manhattan. Start family there. We have moved on. I found some pony to be with. He cares about me, and you should do the same thing. There is no way for us to even go back together, and you know that in your heart. And was also silent for a moment. And her ex-boyfriend realized she had a point. There was no way for them to go back together. And he apologized once again for that way he did, but he said, I forgive you, and I have moved on, and you will also do that. So give me a favor, at least do me a favor, move on. Find somebody else to be with. Be happy. And he agreed to do so. And that was actually the very final last time they even saw each other ever again. Because on the very next day, he went back to Manhattan. Because even though the same day when he had come back, when she met up with him again, she told Thunderbolt about this meeting. And at first, he wasn't even really much worried. But when she mentioned that her ex-boyfriend wanted her back, he started to get a little bit worried that maybe that he will try again. But as they both were a little surprised about the next day when they found out that her ex-boyfriend had left and had went back to Manhattan to work. And even so, But only then, a couple of months later, when she heard from one of her, she had a friend who lives in Manhattan. And her friend told her a couple of months later that her ex-boyfriend now is been dating a new mayor, and she was happy for that. At least that he may have found some pony to be with. Maybe it's on someone serious now. But the relationship between Thunderbolt and Rose remained very much strong. They had this unbreakable bond, and even after all this, they didn't have any argues or any like which led to any big fights or anything. Sure, they may have some arguments about some things, but never much as a big fights that was led to break up or get back to get back together or nothing like that. There was always something that they would have in their minds, in which were they love each other. Even both Luna and Celeste, they were really happy that Rose had found some pony to be with, especially with Thunderbolt. Since Thunderbolt had been treating Rose with such kindness, respect, and even made her laugh for several times. Even some of the jokes are so bad, but she laughs about it still. She was just happy that May have found some pony she really cares about. But after being dealing with Rose for about 5 years, Thunderbolt actually felt that he was ready to take the next step in their relationship. So one day when he took her to the castle garden for just spend some time, when he actually proposed to her, and she didn't hesitate to say yes immediately because she felt ready to take the next step in the relationship. Rose and Thunderbolt admitted to their families and friends they were getting married. Both sides of families was really beyond happy. They were overjoyed. And even though Rose herself could have been happier, she had asked Twilight to be her bridesmaid, and Thunderbolt actually had asked his friend Soren to be his best man, and they both accepted. And afterwards, they had the wedding in Canterlot only about a couple of weeks later. And at the party which Pinkie Pie had arranged, every pony had a great time, dancing with the good music, that had, and have enjoyed the good food. And even though that both side of families could see how happy Rose and Thunderbolt were together, there was still so much joy in between them. And later, they actually went to a tropical island resort for a honeymoon for about a week. And there, they had this amazing time. Just enjoying a great time in the ocean by swimming around or do some sightseeing. But barely just 2 years after they get married, both Thunderbolt and Rose had a big announcement. They were expecting a baby, but the big announcement was they were expecting twins, a boy and a girl. Both sides of families was really overjoyed because none of the family has ever had twins. And this news, when it came out to the public, every single pony in the entire kingdom was overjoyed to hear that now it's gonna be two heirs to the throne of the royal family. And then the day came when the twins were born. Both of them were really surprised to having two Alicorn children. They named the daughter Aqua Song. Aqua Song herself, when as a filly, she loved to sing, and she had a natural talent in singing. And in fact, her mom encouraged her to be much to express her singing, and she took singing class lessons when she was growing up. And her childhood dream was to be a singing teacher herself. And eventually, when she was old enough, she became a singing teacher, and her students loved her teachings more than anything. At some point, she even got married to a stallion, and they had two daughters of their own. They named their son Shining Star. Shining Star was like his father, fast flying, and also like his mother in natural talent magic. But growing up, there was only one thing that he loved to do the most of, except for training magic with his mother and sister. It was to be paint. He loved to be drawing and painting as growing up as a child. And in fact, after have been going to some museums when he was younger with his class and his parents, that sparked the interest that he wanted to be a painter. And eventually, when he mentioned this dream to his parents, they encouraged him to express himself in either singing or art. And being a painter was something that he expressed what he wanted to do. So when he was like 10 or 12, he actually won as a first grade prize in school from one of some of his drawings. And it was actually when that sparked him to be even stronger to be an artist. Even though he told himself, even though he might not be as a good artist as maybe a painter, but he will do as best as he could. And as well, he's for growing up. His expressions of in art, in painting, only got better over the years, and his teachings. He never gave up in express himself in paintings. And his designs, arts even got better over the years, and eventually he became a well-known painter in within the Canterlot and other few cities. And eventually he marries a mayor from Trottingham, which he settled down in and opened his own art school. And it actually became a very much good success for him. And they even had one son and two daughters of their own. Rose was really excited and happy that she did meet Thunderbolt at the speeding service. If she had even met him at all, or even had even considered to go to the speeding service, she wouldn't even have met her true soulmate. And even Thunderbolt told her that if she had even had considered to go there in the first place, he wouldn't have met his true soulmate either. Because he was really happy that they met at this speed dating service. Even if it took it slowly to being start as friends, but eventually when he asked her out, and even though that they both agreed by back then to take it slowly to see if something that could work out, and both were happy it actually led to something more serious. They couldn't have been more happier to be with someone like each other. Their love for each other remains such strong bond. And not only that, ever since at the wedding, both Celestia and Luna gave Thunderbolt an ultimate surprise as their wedding gift, which means, or this meant, they made him immortal, like Rose, since she was a natural born alicorn, which means that she was natural immortal. And this is how Thunderbolt and Rose, for their true love, got a big family together. The end.